All right, hey everybody. Here we are with lesson H of chapter 2, Quadratic Regression Models and Predictions. We're going to fit a quadratic function. I got little kids, if you can't tell. They have fits all the time. We're going to fit a quadratic function to data using the quadratic regression model on our graphing calculator and make some predictions using it. So let's go ahead, get into it. Pretty short lesson here today, so let's go. Okay, so if you have a graphing calculator, go ahead and get that out and turn it on. We're going to create a scatter plot of the data shown here at the right. And what this data is the speed of a vehicle and its gas mileage based on the speed. So with vehicles, there's an optimal speed to travel at. It's typically about 55 miles an hour. That gives you your optimal gas mileage. So 30 miles a gallon is pretty darn good. The slower you go, actually the worse your gas mileage, right? It's not, your vehicle is not operating at a high efficiency at a low speed, and neither is it operating at a high efficiency at a high speed. So it's got this curvature, and we're going to see that in a minute as we plug these in. So go ahead and take your calculator, and we're going to input our speed, our x values, as list 1 and our mileage as list 2. So go ahead and press stat on your calculator. Depending on what model you have, you might see a different interface than I have, but if you have an 84 or newer, you'll see what I've got. Press stat and press enter on edit, and then we're going to fill in list 1 and list 2 with our data from over in this table. You can't see the entirety of my table here, but the numbers past 65 miles an hour are there. I just couldn't get them all in the window. Same thing with the outputs and mileage. Okay, so we're going to create a quadratic regression model. Before we do that, I want you to see what this graph is going to look like. So if I were just to plot just those points alone, okay, it would look like these points right here. You can see these distinct points. There's 1, there's 2, 3, etc., etc. Right? If I just plotted those, it looks kind of quadratic. So we're going to try to fit a quadratic function to that. So in step number 2, what I want you to do is press stat again, and then I want you to toggle over to calc, and I want you to go down to option 5. I know I've got 4 highlighted, but I want you to go to 5, which says quad reg. That's quadratic regression. We make the decision on using quadratic regression based on what our data looks like, right? What we think will fit it best. Okay, in this class, we're only going to do linear and quadratic regression. So up pops this window here. Under the X list, I want list 1, the Y list, list 2, the frequency list, don't worry about that. And we want to store our regression equation as Y1. You can store your regression equation using Y1 by pressing the alpha button, then the trace button, and then enter on Y1. Okay, if that doesn't show up for you, you've got an older model calculator, and if you got questions about how to pull up Y1 to store it, you just let me know and we can chat. Okay, so after I put Y1 in as the stored regression equation, I'm going to click enter on calculate, and up pops this quadratic function. Okay, we've got a, b, and c, which are the coefficients of x squared and x and our constant term. It has calculated this for us. This is very powerful. Okay, and we can see by going back to our home screen. So if you pressed second and mode, that would quit you back to the home screen. If you pressed y equals, you would actually see this function stored in Y1. That's very powerful, what we did back here in this step. Okay, if you didn't do that, if you didn't store it as Y1, you would have to write down all these numbers and then retype them in to Y1, which is clearly not very fun. What you don't see right here behind this little black rectangle is the cursor is blinking, and I caught it at the wrong time during my picture. But there's a highlighted, it kind of looks like over here how calc is highlighted. It's a highlighted plot 1. So you see plot 2 and plot 3. There's a plot 1 behind this rectangle. And what that's doing is it's plotting these distinct points. Okay, so it plots these. Notice also that I've got y1 equals also highlighted. That's going to graph this function. You can see it in blue here. So where did this red number come from, or this red line come from? Well, what I'm trying to do is find the meaning of y1 is greater than 25. So if you pause the video, think about that, and come back and let's talk about it. So if y1 is greater than 25, that is finding, let's look back at our data, that is finding the speeds, right? The interval of speeds such that the gas mileage is greater than 25 miles an hour. 25 miles per gallon. So I can find speeds at which I could travel such that I could maintain a gas mileage of at least 25 miles an hour. And that's what that means here. So when I go in and I solve this, right, and I didn't put this on here, I actually regret doing that. But what I can do is I can click second and then trace and then go to the option for intersect. Okay, and we can find these 2 points of intersection. Okay, it's going to ask you for y1, enter, y2, enter, and then guess. You press enter a third time, and it'll give you both of these values. Based on what my calculator gave me, the first value is x equals 19.736, and the second value is 71.226. These are both in miles per hour. Okay, I'm finding x values, and x values are speeds. So if I want to know where my gas mileage would be 25 or greater, it'd be if my speed was between 19.736 and 71.226. That would be where y1 would be greater than 25. Okay, good application there. Obviously makes sense for real life. You want to optimize and spend less money on gas. So looking at the second part here, what is the meaning of y1 of 95? So pause the video, think about it, and come back. Well, what y1 of 95 means is, in plain English, it's saying, what is your gas mileage? What is your miles per gallon when traveling at 95 miles an hour? Okay, it'll get you there quick, but boy, you're not going to get a whole lot of bang for your buck. It looks like you're going to be getting 10.346 miles per gallon. Okay, recall, don't ever forget, we always round to 3 decimals. 3 decimals. Okay, guys, that is quadratic regression modeling as well as predictions. That is our official last lesson of Chapter 2. We are going to be testing after this, probably a review day in between, but shoot me some questions if you got it, and we'll talk to you on the flip side. Have a good one.